In the last episode, the Ming nation's chief envoy, Yoon declares a cooking competition with the Joseon royal chefs. Lee Han accepts the competition, and if Ming wins, they will get 100 tribute women plus the harvest of ginseng all over the Joseon. But if Joseon wins, Ming will let Joseon purchase the sugarcane and flour at a cheap price. This cooking competition has 3 rounds with different themes. The first one is to prepare a new dish with meat, but that dish must not have existed before. The second round is Joseon and Ming nation chefs cook the other nation's traditional dish. The third and final dish is they need to make a soup with ginseng. Lee Han announced the competition will be held 5 days later. Little did he know the imposters in his own palace teamed up with the Ming envoy, planning to sabotage the competition and dethrone him. This is the latest episode of the ongoing Korean drama, Bon Appetit Your Majesty. The 7th episode starts with Yeon Ji in the kitchen. She has a meeting with her team, which includes Seo, Cook Bong, and Cook Mang with other helpers. She presents a drawing of a pressure cooker, explaining how it works. She says that this pressure cooker is our trump card to win the final competition. Seo asked, "Why are we discussing final round preparation instead of the first 2 rounds?" But Yeon Ji explains that, usually in competitions like this, everyone gives their best in the first rounds and exhausted, out of ideas for the final rounds. We are going to use a reverse approach and prepare well for the final round, which will decide the winner. Chef Bong asks, "Isn't it the ginseng soup we are going to make? We already have pots to make it, so why do we need such a strange pot now?" Yeon Ji thought of making a tasty ginseng soup with black chicken. But people from this era don't know about this dish yet. She explains, it's a dish made with stuffing medicinal herbs, ginseng, and other ingredients inside chicken and boiled. But hearing this, all thought that won't work, and the ingredients inside will get mashy before the chicken is cooked. But Yeon Ji assures them, with this pressure cooker, we can definitely make a new tasty dish that no one has ever seen. We see the Ming and Joseon chefs make various preparations for the upcoming competitions. Yeon Ji prepares her secret ingredients, chili powder and chili sauce, which Minister Joseon finds out by spying on her. Later that night, Cook Bong and others complain about the toughness of the meat of black chicken and how it will take so long for them to cook it to get tender. Yeon Ji explains that because of this reason itself, they need this pressure cooker. Normally, the water boils at 100 degrees Celsius, but due to the pressure of the stream inside this cooker, the water will boil at 120 degrees Celsius, and the chicken will be cooked in less time. When they asked about where they could find this pressure cooker, Yeon Ji tells them she will have someone to make it before the competition. While they were discussing, someone poke a hole on the paper wall and spy on them. It is none other than our mischievous Lee Han with his eunuch. Yeon Ji notices this and goes to check out, but no one is there. The next morning, Yeon Ji meets Lee Han and asks him to find a person who can make her the pressure cooker. Seeing the drawings of the strange pot, Lee Han asks, why does she need such a thing for the competition? But Yeon Ji explains that, for the final round of the competition, she plans to make a dish that never existed before in this era. To make such a dish, she needs this pressure cooker. She asks about a person named Jang Yong-sil and suggests he can do it. Lee Han chuckled. Do you mean the Grand Protector who invented the Grand Hemispherical Sundial and the water clock? He said that the late king thinks very highly of him, but he is not here anymore. He suggests that someone at Gyeonggi can do it. Gyeonggi is a place where they make military weapons. But what Yeon Ji wants is an inventor, not a blacksmith. Suddenly, the eunuch tells them, there is still someone named Jang Chun-seng, descendant of Jang Yong-sil. He was known for making bizarre things and was kicked out of Gyeonggi after causing an explosion. Yeon Ji wants to meet him, who is now in his hometown. Yeon Ji has not much time left for the competition and wants to meet Jang Seng soon. Also, she wants to pick ingredients from the mountain freshly. Lee Han wants to go with Yeon Ji, but the eunuch refuses that idea, advising him that the Ming envoys were in the palace, which is a crucial time for the king to be present at the palace. Even though Lee Han wanted to go with Yeon Ji badly, understanding the situation, he had his friend, Secretary Song, go with Yeon Ji for her safety. Yeon Ji dressed as a man to avoid any problems and went out with Secretary Song. But Lee Han is sulking because he doesn't like Yeojin going out with another man. Secretary Song talks to Yeojin about how Lee Han seems interested in her and soon in the future, he may call her with respect like, Your Grace. But Yeojin only wants to find her book and returns to her timeline. While they were walking, someone jumps in front of them who is none other than Gongul, startling them both. When the Secretary Song is confused and asks him what he is doing there, we can see Lee Han with his royal guard behind them disguised as civilians. Lee Han tells them, it is not good for a man and a woman to be alone together, and he wants to give more protection to his royal chef. That is why he, himself, wants to take her to meet Jang Seng, and wants Secretary Song to go to the palace and take care of things for him. At the palace, the eunuch feels conflicted by the action of the king when Secretary Song tells him that Lee Han went with Yeojin. He wants the eunuch to take care of the matters inside the palace, while he goes out and announces to the ministers that the king is not well and all the morning meetings will be held for some time. Meanwhile, Lee Han and Yeojin with the royal guard and Gongul arrive at the place where Jang Seng was staying. Lee Han is exhausted and whines about how far they need to go. When they were talking, Yeojin requested Lee Han not to announce he is the king to Jang Seng. When he asks why he can't tell what is true, Yeojin asks him that what will we do if he says, Sorry, Your Highness, I can't make it. What can we do? Lee Han simply tells her that he will torture Jang Seng until he accepts to make it. Yeojin snaps at him to stop saying such things already, and finally, Lee Han accepts to be quiet when they meet him. In the meantime, someone informed Minister Jezin that the king left the palace with the royal chef to get some strange item for the cooking competition. Jezin thinks, if they won the competition, it would be bad for their plan. So he sends assassins who were trained in their mountain base, and the target was the royal chef, Yeojin. At Jang Seng's house, there is a warning at the door which says, Do not enter the house without permission. Reading this, Lee Han snaps and opens the door. The trap set at the door activates, and they see a cannon aimed at them ready to blast. Instinctively, Lee Han protects Yeojin while the royal guard covers them both. To their surprise, what blast is not bullets but rice puffs. A man runs from the house and rejoices, Finally, my rice is puffed. But after tasting it, he complains about its blatant taste. Yeojin notices this and thinks to herself, I have come to the right person after all. But Lee Han is not happy and snaps at Jang Seng. What are you doing? Do you know who I am? Jang Seng seems not to care at all and shots back at him. Who are you anyway? And why did you all barge into my house without permission? Hearing this, the royal guard gets angry, but Gongul manages to stop him and talks to Jang Seng politely. Yeojin calmed down Lee Han and went to Jang Seng to explain the situation. Yeojin tries to act like a man and alter her voice to sound like a man, but Jang Seng finds out she is a woman easily, which makes Gongul laugh. Yeojin introduces herself as a cook from the palace, and they need his help in something that is so important to our nation. Hearing this, Jang Seng tells them to leave, and he despises people from the palace. Lee Han got angry and yelled at him, but Yeojin stopped him. When Gongul tries to talk, Jang Seng simply lifts a curtain and shows them a scary weapon with arrows pointing at them. Seeing this, Yeojin makes everyone leave, but before she leaves, Yeojin tells him that she was going to tell him how to make his rice puff tasty. This statement piques the interest of Jang Seng. He runs to her and asks about it. Yeojin gives him a small pack of sugar and instructs him to use it in his next batch of rice puff. Outside, Lee Han is fuming with anger at what happened with Jang Seng. He wants to drag him to the palace and torture him. Yeojin reminds him of his promise of not doing anything like that. Suddenly, they hear the blast sound again, and Lee Han immediately pulls Yeojin in his arms to protect her. Yeojin knows what it is. She rushes to the door and watches what is happening inside through a small hole and asks if it tastes good now. But Jang Seng sighed and told her that he is inventing these rice puffs to give people double the amount of food. If adding the expensive sugar is the only way to make it tasty means this invention is useless. Hearing this, Yeojin tells him, For this very reason you need to help us. And he can get more sugar at a cheap price. Jang Seng doesn't believe her and asks her if she really is the royal chef. Yeojin shows her name tag and tells him that the other one is a higher official. Jang Seng only invites Yeojin inside and asks about the details. Yeojin shows him the drawings of the pressure cooker and asks his help in making this. She explains that there will be a cooking competition with Meng Nation chefs at the palace, and if we win, we can get as much as sugarcane purchased from Meng Nation at a cheaper price. Jang Seng seems interested in those drawings, but he refuses to make them anyway. He tells her that people in the palace use and discard people as they wish. Yeojin tells him if his uncle Jang Yong-sil was here, he would definitely help them. But hearing this, Jang Seng tells her yes, if it was his uncle here, he would have definitely helped them, but he is not his uncle. His uncle devoted his life to invent things for the palace, yet they discarded him like trash in the end. He didn't want to be used and discarded like his uncle. After the failed persuasion, they all talk about what to do next. As usual, Lee Han wants to arrest him and torture him to make the pot. But Gongul tells him that people like Jang Seng have strong passion, and they won't do things if we force them. Yeojin also says that she wants him to make the pot with all his heart and passion, not by force. In the palace, the court lady meets consort Mok Ju, who is fuming after learning that the king left the palace with the royal chef. She also learns that Gongul is Oktan's younger brother who comes to the palace to investigate Oktan's death. Mok Ju wants the court lady to find more about him. The Queen Dowager also learns about the king's action and talks with the consorts. They were surprised by his decision to leave the palace at the important moment of Ming envoy present. When they speculate that maybe King falls in love with his royal chef, the Queen Dowager gets angry and shut them up by telling them, even though King do careless things before, he never do anything that will harm his kingdom. And if he went out with royal chef, it must be important and related to the competition. At the mountain, 4 of them stay at a nearby hut and spend that night, Lee Han gently wrapping his coat over Yeojin, who is sleeping soundly. He admires her sleeping face. In the palace, Chef Bailong warns his chef Wang Ji not to think easy of the royal chefs of Joseon. He wonders where Lixing went. She meets with Minister Joseon secretly and gives him the expensive Szechuan pepper as a gift, but she wants something in return. At the mountain, rain pours heavily. Gongul jokes about eating tasty hot foods which would be delighted in this rain. Suddenly, Yeojin got an idea and asked Gongul about the native of Jang Seng. He tells her Jang Seng is from Busan. She rushes to buy ingredients from the market with Lee Han. Yeojin starts to make a native dish of Busan and fans the aroma towards Jang Seng's house. As they planned, Jang Seng catches the aroma and comes to their place. They invited him, but he stubbornly refused to eat. After watching the others enjoying the food, he grabbed a piece and ate it. He starts to feel the taste of his mother's cooking, which makes him nostalgic. Yeojin explains her father is also from Busan and gives him more food. While he is eating, she tells him, just like how you always remember the taste of your native food, people always remember your uncle whenever they see the water clock. Jang Seng agrees to make the pressure cooker for her, but it takes some time to create it, because if the valve and other things are not done correctly, the cooker may explode. They left Gongul to assist Jang Seng in making the pressure cooker, and others went to the mountains to collect fresh ingredients for the competition. At the mountain, Lee Han finds a wild ginseng. When Yeojin eagerly tries to take it, he tells her that he found it, so it is his ginseng. We can see Ming chefs preparing for the competition. When Bailong notices the new oil made by Lixing, he asks her what is this. She tells him it is a secret ingredient she found and wants him to allow her to participate in the first round. Wang Ji tries to reject it, but Bailong allows Lixing to compete in the first round. When Bailong went to serve food to Yugun, he was talking to that minister from Minister Joseon's side. Seeing Bailong and others, Yugun tells the minister to talk in Joseon language, which is Korean, in order not to be understood by Bailong. For your clarification, Meng is the nation that speaks Mandarin. Through the minister, Chief Envoy Yugun learns the king left the palace in disguise with the royal chef to prepare for the competition. Yugun seems confident that his cooks will definitely win the competition. But the minister asks, what if the competition never happens? Seeing the confused Yugun, he continues, it is dangerous outside the palace for the king and also for the royal chef. If something happens to the royal chef, there will be no competition. Hearing this, Yugun laughs and tells the minister, If that happens, then his chefs would be disappointed for not being able to compete. The minister want Yoon to act in their favor. When Yoon seems to refuse it, the minister takes the note of accounts for every gift Yoon gets from them, which is like corruption. He didn't threaten Yoon with it, but gave it to him and tells Yoon to do things for their favor when the time comes. Outside the room, Bailong has been overhearing all the things they were talking about. From this, we can understand that Bailong also knows Korean. Later that night, Cook Mang and Cook Bong return from the palace. Cook Bong asks Mang why he was so harsh while teaching Seo on cutting vegetables. But Mang tells him if she can't help in the kitchen, then it would be good for her to quit. We can see Seo practicing and cutting with a knife late at night. In the midst of their conversation, Cook Bong notices a shadowy figure near them. A man covers fully in black comes and gives them a message telling them, "It is important and your royal chef is in danger. Give this message to your king soon." He was covering his face, but when he turns and runs away, Cook Bong notices the long white hair and suspects. It is Bailong. But Mang shrugs it off because he speaks Korean well. And they found the letter as blank, yet they rush to the eunuch and give him the letter telling everything that happened. When Secretary Song sees the blank letter, he frowns. But the eunuch takes the paper near the candle and places it above the flames. The letters start to appear slowly, which warns, "Your royal chef's life is in danger." Secretary Song wastes no time and gathers his soldiers to go to the place where King and Yeojin is staying. It will take them dawn to reach there. Yeojin and others arrived the next morning. The day of the competition, Jang Sang had already made the pot. Yeojin feels overjoyed by seeing the finished pressure cooker, which is exactly how she wants it to be. Lee Han rewards him and tells him he will be rewarded more later. Suddenly, the traps in the house alerts Jang Sang, who spots the assassins nearing his house. Jang Sang uses his cannon and fires iron balls which shoot some assassins. He fights with his inventions against them. Lee Han notices their target is Yeojin and tries to protect her. He got hurt in his arm, and in the commotion, the lid of the pressure cooker fell away. The royal guard and Gongul fights fiercely with the assassins while Lee Han tries to take Yeojin away. Jang Sang assures her he will bring the lid before the competition and tell her to run. In the forest, the assassins surrounded Lee Han and Yeojin. But Secretary Song arrives at the right time with the soldiers and saves them both. Lee Han found Yeojin faints and Gongul. Royal guards were slightly hurt. The royal guard tells them that the assassins were not ordinary ones, but highly trained. Secretary Song suspects they were sent by the rebels. While they were talking, Yeojin wakes up and frantically searches for her pressure cooker. Lee Han assures her the cooker is safe and worries about her injured hand. Yeojin says it is okay and rushes them to go back to the palace soon because today is the competition. Meanwhile, Minister Jesun is furious on learning about the failed assassination and burns the message with the thought of, even if they escaped, they will not win this competition. At the palace, the preparation for the competition is in full swing. Cook Bong and Cook Mang were nervous because Yeojin has still not arrived. Lee Han takes Yeojin on his horse and rides to the palace fastly. But Yeojin feels nauseous and weak, which makes Lee Han realize his adamant about winning in the competition makes everyone around him suffer, and he apologizes to all. Yeojin was shocked seeing Lee Han talking out of his character. At the competition, everyone is gathered. Chief Envoy Yoon with his cooks, Yeojin's team and ministers, but the king and Yeojin are nowhere to be found. Yoon starts mocking them. Did they run away in fear of losing the competition? When the time arrives to start the competition, Yoon orders them to start without royal chef Yeojin. Seeing this, Bailong requests Yoon to wait some time for Yeojin. He says, "We need to show them the great nation's generosity," which eventually works, and Yoon agrees. At the final moment of extended time, Bailong senses that they arrive and smiles. King Lee Han arrives with Yeojin and Secretary Song to the competition. Yoon and Lee Han greet each other and begin the competition. Secretary Song announced the theme for the first round, which is to make a dish totally new to the world using meat. The bell rang and everyone gathered in the Yeojin team that included Seo, Cook Bong, and Cook Mang with some helpers. We can see the injury on Yeojin's right hand, but she encourages them to make the best dish. Ming chefs use chicken while Joseon chefs use beef for their dish. Everyone is stunned seeing the knife talent of Ming chefs while cutting the chicken into fine pieces. Yeojin notices that Lixing is the one making the dish for the first round in their team. She observes what Lixing is doing to find out the dish they make. At the same time, Bailong notices Yeojin's team is cutting beef and thinks to himself, they were doing something general with the beef. He is disappointed and expecting something more from Yeojin. Suddenly, one of the assistants from Yeojin runs to them telling the secret ingredients, chili powder and chili sauce they prepared and put in the storage room are missing. Panic starts to arise among the team members. Without the secret ingredients, the dish they plan to make in the first round is not possible. Yeojin calms everyone by telling them there's no time to waste now, and we need to make new dishes. But cook bongs and wonder what they can make in such a short time. Yeojin focuses and thinks to herself of what to do without using chili powder or chili sauce. She got an idea and told everyone she got it. She gave them each different tasks from getting rice wine to heating the pan with meat fat. Send Seo to chop the vegetables, while telling cook Mang to bring the meat. When the rice wine is bought, Yeojin instructs them to pour the wine in the boiling meat, which shocks everyone. They had never seen meat cooked with rice wine before. When the aroma spread in the venue, Bailong was surprised and whispered to himself, she is doing a dish that has never existed before. But Lixing seems confident in herself and tells him that no matter what they make, in the end we are the ones that will win. She then shows them the pouch with her secret ingredient. On the other side, Yeojin adds veggies and other ingredients to the pot of boiling meat and tells them it will take an hour to cook. And they started to discuss the name for their new dish. Yeojin thinks for some time and tells them it will be called rice wine beef ribs. When Ming chefs cut the vegetables, everyone is surprised by their skills and starts to gossip among themselves that Joseon will lose in the first round. Lee Han wonders what Yeojin is making, while Yoo-gun mocks them by belittling the skills of Joseon chefs. Lee Han throws back by telling him, we cannot decide the result just by the knife skills. The competition is going on in full swing, and everyone is doing their work hurriedly. Lixing uses her secret ingredient in her dish. The moment it is spackled on the dish, the room is filled with a spicy aroma that sparks everyone's attention. But smelling the spiciness, Yeojin starts to suspect something. She wonders if it is because her chili powder is gone. She doubts like that. Everyone is once again shocked by the special wine of the Wang Ji family from Ming's chef. Yoo-gun explains to Lee Han that it is the rare liquor passed down only to the descendants of the Wang Ji family, and one of their cooks is from that Wang Ji family. Yeojin pours the wine on the pan to cook the beef, and the whole pan is filled with flames, which surprises everyone. But Lixing also did the same, and Yoo-gun laughed. The ministers and the others were in awe of witnessing the skills of both women. Before the final bell rang, both teams decorate their plates with the dishes they made and present it before the king and Yoo-gun when the time ends. Secretary Song announces, it is time for the tasting, and the scores for each dish will be given by Yoo-gun and Lee Han on the paper, which is out of 10. And the first dish is Yeojin's rice wine beef ribs. As soon as they take the first bite, the moistness of the meat makes them feel themselves, enjoying the scenery of the garden filled with grapes and butterflies, which makes them feel so refreshed. Yoo-gun drowns himself in the taste of the dish and enjoys it. When Lee Han asks about the dish, Yeojin explains the preparation of this rice wine beef ribs. Yoo-gun tells them, the meat melts inside the mouth the moment he takes the bite, and the rice wine aroma adds excellent sense to this dish. Even Minister Jason praises this dish, and the other minister proudly declares, even the Ming chefs cannot make such a dish. While Lee Han is enjoying the praise of the ministers, Yoo-gun also accepts it, yet he declares, it is just a braised beef ribs, nothing special, and how can you claim it is never made before? Yeojin explains that it is a dish made with French style using rice wine, and no one ever made it before her in this era. But hundreds of years in the future, a mother from a small village in France makes it. She also adds that if her mother was alive, she would have made it for her. Hearing this, Lee Han feels emotional. Secretary Song announces, it is time to taste Lixing's dish. Yoo-gun asks about the dish Lixing prepared. She explains, it is a new dish made with finely chopped chicken and rare wine. The moment they taste the first bite, the spiciness hits them like a lava, and they feel like they are near the hot boiling volcano. The taste buds scream in excitement of the spiciness of the chicken. When Yugun asks, "How do you make the food so spicy?" Lixing replies that she made a special red oil with her secret recipe, which gives the dish a strong, spicy flavor. Yeojin was shocked listening to this and doubts that the secret recipe she is talking about is something Yeojin suspects. Yugun appreciates Lixing for her dish and announces that this spicy secret red oil will become the pride of Ming Nation. But Yeojin thought no matter how talented Lixing is, she cannot prepare that red oil without Yeojin's red chilies. When Lee Han asked Yugun which dish he prefers, Yugun explained that even though rice wine beef ribs are good, he prefers Lixing's chicken dish. Moreover, the ribs dish is similar to the already existing dishes and the story behind it seems so personal to Yeojin. But the king retorted that there has never been a dish prepared with rice wine which qualifies it as a dish that never existed before. Both of them are given paper to write their scores. Secretary Kim peeks at Yugun's score and signals to Lee Han that he gives only 4 points to Yeojin's dish, which makes him a little nervous. The scores were given in the way that King Lee Han gives points for Ming's dish, while Yugun gives points for Joseon's dish, and Secretary Song collects the paper and switches the score paper before handing them to both of their assistants. Then the scores were displayed for the audience. When the king announced for the results to be displayed, Yeojin intercepted them and requested to taste the Ming's dish before the results were announced. Yugun gets furious by this demand and refuses the request. When Lee Han asks for the reason for such a request to Yeojin, she explains that she can only tell that after tasting the dish. Hearing this, Lixing seems a little startled but soon relaxed when Yugun refuses it. But Bailong gives their dish to Yeojin to taste, which infuriates Yugun. Bailong calmly explains that, for the honor of our nation and fairness, let the chefs taste each other's dish. The king also permits them to taste each other's dishes, and Yugun reluctantly agrees. Bailong is impressed by the taste of Yeojin's beef ribs and thinks to himself such a dish never existed before. On the other hand, after tasting Lixing's chicken, Yeojin's suspicion confirms the red oil was made with her chili powder, which was missing. She inquires about the ingredient they used to prepare this red oil. Lixing comes forward and answers that question by telling her that she got that ingredient from this Joseon country through legal means. Hearing this, all the ministers and everyone was shocked to think, how can someone give their nation's ingredient to the opponent? Furious, Yeojin confronts Lixing that this is made with the chili powder which was prepared by Yeojin and her team painstakingly. Lee Han also recalls Yeojin mentioning this secret ingredient she prepared for the first round of the competition. But he wonders, who gives their ingredients to her? Yugun tells them, we can first display the results and later talk about this matter. But Lee Han tells him that, just like how important a pen is for a scholar and a sword for a soldier, ingredients are important for the cooks. This matter cannot be taken lightly, and if this happens to Ming's cook, does Yugun ignore it? Bailong gets angry after listening to this and asks Lixing, did she steal their ingredient? When Lixing doesn't reply, he got angry and declares that they will admit defeat because of Lixing's action of stealing the ingredient. But Yugun got angry after listening to this and yelled at Bailong, what are you doing? But Lee Han tells that the Ming chefs were all talented, but they should also have the basic human decency when it comes to competing. Yeojin still asks Bailong where they get the ingredients because she wants to know the missing ingredients' whereabouts. Suddenly, Lixing shouts that she didn't steal the ingredients, but trade it fairly for their Sichuan peppers with Minister Joseon. Everybody was shocked by this revelation, even the king. Lee Han asked his uncle, did he really give Yeojin's ingredients to Meng's chef without his approval? Minister Joseon laughed nervously and tells him that he doesn't need the king's permission to give the ingredients, because he is in charge of the materials supplied inside the palace kitchen. He personally inspected everything to ensure the royal family's safety, and he found out Chef Yeojin is making a strange red powder without any proper inspection. So, he threw it away in consideration of the royal family's health. He has no idea that is the secret ingredient prepared for the competition. When Lixing traded expensive Sichuan pepper for that red powder, he thought it was profitable for them, and so he traded some chili powder with her. He apologized that if he knew he would have never done it. Yoon urges the result to be announced soon. However, Bailong still can't accept the fact that Lixing stole the ingredient from Yeojin. She may have obtained the ingredient through legal means, but she knows that Yeojin is going to use that ingredient for the competition. Still, she uses it in her dish, which is unethical for a cook. Yeojin interrupts them and admits that she is partially at fault for not taking care of her ingredients. But Bailong refuses her pity and declares that the Ming chef will never win through such means in a competition. Hearing this, ministers all request the king to make a fair judgment. Lee Han announces that Yeojin is wrong in the ingredients matter, and Ming chefs also won't be happy to win like this, so he declares the first round as a tie. Yoon yells furiously that it is not fair. Ming has clearly won in this round, but King wonders the result is not displayed yet, and how can you be so sure that you won? Yet to make it fair for everyone, Lee Han guaranteed a favor for Yoon for their chefs. He announced this first round as a tie, and the second round will be tomorrow. He warns, no more issues like this with the ingredients, and also declares that if all the rounds ends up in tie, then Ming will be declared as a final winner. After hearing this, Yeojin thinks, so this is the favor they were getting. It makes things more difficult for me in the future competitions. After everyone leaves, except the two teams, Lixing approaches Yeojin and apologizes to her. She tells them, today she learns how a cook should behave and the importance of one's ingredients. Yeojin brushes it off by telling, she also learns how to take care of her ingredients. Tomorrow, you are going to competing, my uncle, Lixing tells. Yeojin confidently tells them she will be the one who is going to win the next round. But the next moment, Yeojin is crying about what to do for tomorrow among her teammates. She feels challenged by Bailong, and others blame Minister Juzin for giving their ingredients to the opponent. For tomorrow, they plan to make a spicy duck dish, but without the chili powder and chili sauce, they cannot make this dish, and Yeojin starts to think of a new dish. When Cook Bong and Cook Mang give some suggestions for a few dishes, Yeojin thinks they were not that good to compete. Finally, she tells everyone they were going to make one of the best imperial Ming dishes, pang duck. In the 1970s, an historical moment of the China and U.S. summit, this dish played a key role by easing the tension among the peoples as soon as they took a bite. Also, she wants to pick the interest of their powerful enemy, Yoon, because he must have tasted this dish in the Ming Palace and he will notice what we are doing in the competition. On the other end, Ming chefs talk about their preparation for the second round. Bailong tells his teammates that Joseon chef is very talented and we must not take her lightly. We can see their secret ingredient covered by a red cloth in the room. Outside, the ministers were praising the chef's cooking skills and the taste of the dishes. Suddenly, Secretary Song intercepted them and asked Minister Juzin to come with him as the king summoned him. In the chamber, Lee Han angrily questions Juzin about the ingredients, but he tells the same story as he tells before, which enrages Lee. When he asks about the remaining ingredients, Juzin explains they were stored safely. Lee Han orders Secretary Song to retrieve the ingredients and hand it over to Yeojin. Inside the palace, the Queen Dowager learns that today's competition ends in a tie. Also, if all the rounds end up in tie, then the Ming will be declared as winner. Hearing this, the Queen Dowager frowns and asks, isn't it totally in favor of Ming? Her maid explains that it is all because of a Juzin who trades the royal chef's secret ingredients with the opponent, without knowing it is an ingredient prepared for the competition. The concubines start to gossip that how can Juzin do such a thing, but the Queen Dowager grew suspicious of Juzin's action. In the inner chambers, we can see Cook Mang kneeling before the consort, Mok Ju. She asks him why the competition ends up in tie instead of they lose. When she sees Cook Mang seems hesitant to sabotage tomorrow's competition, she threatens him with his mother's life. She wants him to make sure they lose the second round of the competition. The next day, the second round of the competition begins. Secretary Song announced the theme to everyone, known and change. This means in the second round both teams have to prepare other nations' traditional dish. Yeojin's team were preparing the ingredients and suddenly, she feels a sweet scent and tries to find where it comes from. Then, the Ming chefs reveal their secret ingredient by removing the red cloth. It is a giant lotus plant with a rare yellow lotus. Yoo-gun explains that it is called Golden Lotus, and it represents their nation's emperor. Lee Han exclaims, he has never seen such a giant lotus like this with such color before. Bailong starts to make a dish with those golden lotus roots. Yoo-gun notices, Yeojin is going to make their imperial dish of Peking duck. He mocks her by telling them, they can make a look-alike, but it can never taste like it. But Lee Han defended them by saying he was confident it would taste best if it was made by their royal chef. Yeojin roasts the duck slowly over a gentle flame, so the fat will melt away and gives the duck tender and moist texture with crispy outside. Both team giving their full effort and preparing the dishes. It is time for the most important part in the Peking duck dish. They need to cut the duck skin into a thin layer, removing the skin tenderly without spoiling the meat inside. In the past, all in their team tries to cut it, but only Seo succeeds in cutting it eventually. But now, only Cook Mang is there to cut the duck evenly. But he recalls the warning of Mok Ju, and also notices the court lady who is one of the Mok Ju maids is staring at him. He didn't want to sabotage such important competition. At the same time, he did not want to risk his mother's life. So he cut his own hand while cutting the duck and make it seem like an accident which draws everyone's attention. Seeing the commotion, Yoo-gun mocks the Joseon chef's knife skill. With this wound, Cook Mang steps aside, and others try to cut but fail. Eventually, Yeojin tries to cut it, but her hand injury makes it impossible for her to cut it. Finally, Cook Mang tells Seo to cut it and recalls her, how much she trained to learn the knife skill. Seo starts to cut the duck and fortunately, she cuts the skin and peels it neat and clean, even though feels so nervous. We can see the reason for Cook Mang so harsh on Seo while teaching how to use a knife is because of this. Yeojin confronts him after seeing the wounds on Seo, only to find out someone is threatening him to sabotage the competition to make their team lose. At first, Yeojin thought it was Chief Envoy Yoo-gun, but she eventually finds out the person behind is Mok Ju. On the other side, Bailong prepares a dish with lotus leaves and gives the final dressing. Both of them finish their dishes before the bell rang. It is time for tasting. This time the first dish they're going to taste is Bailong's dish. It is a vegetarian dish with lotus roots and different types of veggies. When they take their first bite, they experience calm and deep peace like meditation. Lee Han was impressed by the dish while Yoo-gun wonders, is this the true taste of Joseon's food? Bailong explains, this is the traditional temple food from Joseon, made with 5 colors of fillings inside the lotus root, and each color represents human values and preaching. When Yoo-gun asked Bailong, when did he start to learn Joseon's temple food? Bailong starts speaking in Korean, stunning everyone, even Yoo-gun. He explains how in the search of best flavors around the words, he travels and, exhausted, faints in front of a Joseon temple. A monk saves his life and offers him a simple meal. The moment he tastes that soup, it feels like he has never tasted such delicious soup in his life, and he was enlightened by the flavors. Bailong asks the monk to teach him the cooking, and he lived in Joseon for 5 years, learning their cooking and living style. Yoo-gun angrily asked Bailong why he never mentioned he can speak Korean. But Bailong calmly replies that you never ask. Even though Yeojin is inspired by Bailong's story and his righteous character, she wants to win this round. It's time for tasting Yeojin's Peking duck dish. When Lee Han asked about this dish, she explained, it is an imperial dish of the Ming nation, loved by the royal family. Yoo-gun once again mocks them that it will never taste like their royal dish. But once they take the bite, everything fades out except the amazing taste of the roasted duck meat. It teleports their senses to another realm like they have never felt before. Yoo-gun even cries out in happiness and praises the dish as the best he has ever tasted. Both Lee Han and Yoo-gun praise it as the nation's best taste in sync. But they cannot find the source of the sweetness in the meat, for which Yeojin explains, it is the sweetness of pumpkin. Both of them express their joy while eating this dish and praised Yeojin. Lee Han and Yoo-gun write their scores in the paper, but this time, Yoo-gun's assistant closes the score paper before Secretary Song peeks. So, Lee Han can't find out how much marks Yoo-gun gives to Joseon's dish. Finally, they displayed the results to everyone while they waited anxiously. In this tense moment, the episode ends. Wait for the next episode to find out what really happened and who wins the second round. We will upload the next episode's recap as soon as it releases next week. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and support our channel SI Drama Diaries for more videos.